Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Today I have a special video since I'm coming up on 18 months. I can't believe it's been almost 6 months since I've made my 1 year recovery story journey. And that wasn't 1 year that I've been recovered, that was just 1 year working on the OCD recovery. So I wanted to do this video a little bit differently. I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a background about myself. A lot of people ask me questions on what I like to do. The hiker I am, I actually just got this shirt while my mom was here. I haven't seen my mom in 2 years since I graduated grad school. So we bought this Colorado shirt that I've been seeing all over the place for 2 years, but I actually don't buy a lot of clothes. That's something interesting about me. I don't think I've bought a new piece of clothing in like 5 years. I just don't care about stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with caring about clothes. It's just not something I care about. I care about cars. I like going fast. So I was born and raised in New Jersey. So my father was an attorney and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. A lot of people have heard me talk about that. My father had obsessive compulsive disorder. He was a compulsive spender and a hoarder, and had a lot of other addictive personality issues that he didn't know were possible. A lot of people say stuff like, oh, it probably helped him being a high-functioning attorney. It didn't. It definitely hindered his ability to be an attorney. So there's an illusion. There's no benefit to having OCD, but there is benefits of going through the OCD recovery process, changing your perspectives, developing REBT, CBT, Stoicism, and any of the other Greco-Roman philosophies you choose to live your life by. So there's a lot of benefits from that. But, I grew up on the water, so I have the beach tattooed on me. My dad had a beach house on the shore. I like jet skiing. I like being in the ocean. I'm not that big of a fisherman. A lot of people in my family are big fishermen. I wasn't. I've always been in the cars. I love street racing videos. I love watching videos. I like NASCAR, even though it's going around in circles. I like anything bikes, motorcycles. Anything that you can get, as people with ADHD, people call you dopamine addicts. So, and it really is some truth to that in a lot of ways, which is really funny. So, basically, until I was about 20 years old, I didn't have that many, I didn't have that many great qualities about myself. I definitely had narrow vision when I was younger, hung around with the wrong crowd, and I didn't know any better. I definitely had compulsive tendencies, but I didn't think that it was anything weird. I just thought it was quirk. I remember now, I used to put lotion on my body like cocoa butter, 15 to like 25 times a day for 10 years. Think about that. Would cover my whole body because I liked the way it felt. No wonder why I developed sensory motor OCD, which is funny, since I didn't like feeling uncomfortable. After I kind of got my shit together, as you would say, I went to a 4-month personal training school in Florida, which was amazing, called NPTI, National Personal Training Institute. It was a 4-month personal training program that was 500 hours long. After that, I went to UCF, University of Central Florida, where I got my undergraduate in exercise science coaching track. So there was different tracks. You could do exercise physiology track, you could do coaching track, you could do sports performance or nutrition. I did coaching. I like being around people. I like motivating people. I've always been like that. I worked with the Jersey Shore cast, the show Jersey Shore. Fun fact, Mike the Situation his wife has one sister, and one of my best friends married that girl. So now one of my good friends' brother-in-law is Mike the Situation, which is hilarious. I've known them for a very long time. So I worked with the show for 8 summers on the boardwalk. So I got to know all them pretty well. I don't keep in contact with them anymore. We did have regulations on the contract dealing and stuff like that. And after they left, I was a tour guide during the summer. So I give tours of the house they stayed in. So I was always around people, talking to people, trying to make people laugh. Sometimes it wasn't healthy because I thought I needed to make people laugh based on conditional acceptance. After I graduated school, which took me 5 years, because I was a little bit of a partier at the time, I got accepted into chiropractor school at Palmer University. The original Palmer in Iowa, a state in the United States, was the first chiropractor school. I can't remember what year, but it doesn't really matter. And there's 3 campuses. I went to one in Florida. That was almost a 4-year program. That was really grueling. And that's where my anxiety really kind of blossomed, one can say, because, I was doing schoolwork 90 hours a week. I was going to the gym. I still was playing video games as well, somehow. I was sleeping like 12 to 4 every day, sometimes less than that. I'd be lying to Erica, my wife, about when I was sleeping and stuff like that. So towards the end of my recovery journey, towards the end of my graduate school journey, I graduated in December 20th of 2019. So in June, I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I was peeing, and I heard ringing in my ears, my left ear, and it was not going away. I'm like, that's odd. So I went to sleep and woke up, and the ringing was still there. freaked out, total panic attack, woke my wife up, going against the grate, trying to check if the sound was real. That was the start of my tinnitus journey. That lasted about 4 months. Now, we were going on job interviews in Oregon, out here in Colorado. It was not good. I remember I came here and I was so depressed. I ate a bunch of edibles and showed up to a job interview at 10 o'clock in the morning looking like a zombie, which is not an intelligent move. So there really was a lot of things going on in my life. So I found this book called Rewiring Tinnitus, which is by a guy who has Meniere's disease, which is a neurologic condition with chronic tinnitus and vertigo as well. So spells spinning around in a circle. And he realized that he was sitting in bed one day and he said, I'm doing everything I can to run away from the sound. Why don't I try just accepting the sound and letting it be there? And that was how I realized that, wow, like accepting the presence of something, not even really knowing unconditional self-life and other acceptance, but accepting something was one of the bases of how I was going to get better. So what happened? I was driving through Ponce Inlet, which is in Daytona Beach with my wife, and I had a thought, OCD, had a thought, oh, I wonder what things you habituate to. The word habituation means, like things you don't notice anymore. You're blinking, all these stuff, all these natural processes that happen, your body doesn't even realize you're doing it because you're habituated to it. It's a neurologic definition. So I was like, oh, well, feet on the gas pedal and all these other things. And then what happened was I thought about my blinking. And I had a couple spouts before where I noticed my blinking for like 10 seconds, which I think everyone does, but I was like, oh, that was weird. Well, this time it chronically latched because I had a panic attack and got super fucking scared of what was going on. Totally freaked out. Boom, latched chronically. I remember I was lying in the ground. I got back and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about my blinking and everything like that. So that was about in September. By November, 2 months later, I was admitted to the mental hospital. Not everyone reaches a mental hospital state, but I did. It was just the perfect storm. So I got Baker acted. The police took me there. I had an attempt on my life. I tried to jump out of a moving car. I was definitely very adamant that I was going to end my life, which freaked me out because I'm such a happy, outgoing guy. So not that that's different for anyone, but I was so freaked out. I was like, what is going on with my life right now? How did I get to this spot? So my wife called the cops, couldn't do it anymore. So I went to a mental hospital. I was there for 4 days. They locked me in the room for the first 30 hours. It's called the Baker Act in Florida. And they put me in there and I was just boom, just nothing. A plastic bed with a camera in the corner with people who were high on meth, tweaking on anything, coming down from heroin withdrawals, crack withdrawals, severe PTSD, manic bipolar, schizophrenia. I met some really interesting people in there, which was really cool. I met someone with split personality disorder, which is actually crazy to meet someone like that. If you watch documentaries on that, he truly had split personality. The nurse told me he had been in that mental hospital over 100 times. So that's, we have it pretty good in a lot of ways if you think about it in the mental health realm. I'm not saying it's easy, but we can look and change our perspectives. From there, met Rob. My buddy introduced me to Rob. He was like, hey, man, follow this guy named Rob Bray. I messaged him. I'm like, yo, look, this is the deal. I'm going to end my life. That's the reality of it. I'm ending my life. I don't think you can help me, blah, blah, blah. He's like, let's come in for a one-to-one. Graduate student, no money. I was like, I'm finding the money. So I found the money, did what I had to do, and I went in with him like that. So we had a one-to-one. I realized that for the first time in my life, because I used this philosophy of acceptance, not even really understanding it in the Ellis way for my tinnitus. Because I'm like, hey, look, and he's like, oh, I had sensory motor and then I went to tinnitus. So he had it the opposite way. I met a lot of people that had tinnitus to somatic OCD to tinnitus, flapping over and stuff like that. So the first 6 months of my journey, I saw no changes. Not everyone is like that. I still was playing video games upwards of 90 hours a week. I was skipping work. It was really bad. I was smoking 2 vape containers a day, which is equivalent to 40 cigarettes a day. 40 cigarettes. I was just nonstop trying to just distract myself, playing video games. I had no anxiety for that time. The first 9 months of my journey, I had no anxiety. Not even a single, not even one little bit. I had it bad during tinnitus, but somatic OC I didn't. This is why it doesn't matter. Let's stop here for a second. It doesn't matter if you have chronic thoughts with no anxiety, chronic anxiety with some intrusive thing. It's all OCD. OCD is OCD is OCD. It's just a fear of something. You can have anxiety. You can not have anxiety. I've had all sorts of different spouts throughout my journey. Chronic anxiety lasts for months at a time with no giving up, at least a minimum of 5 background noise. And I had periods of up to 9 months where I had no anxiety whatsoever. So that's irrelevant in the grand scheme of OCD recovery. Stop trying to prove to yourself if OCD is real. It's a dead end by trying to prove to yourself if you have anxiety or don't have anxiety. So I started to see some benefits. I had no idea what backdoor spikes were or relapses were. So I remember we were out to eat at Longhorn, which is a steakhouse. And I was like, I don't know, a few months into recovery or working on recovery. And I'm like, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. Message Rob. Yeah. Woke up hearing sirens in my ear. Started crying. I'm like, why? That's part of the journey. More than likely going to happen to everyone. Theme switch. The reason why themes switch is because if themes didn't switch, we would just stay, we would get over one theme and go forever. But the reality is OCD more than likely at the chronic level is going to have to throw different tricks at you to keep you safe. It's just trying to keep you safe. So give or take I stopped playing video games. Was playing video games 100 hours a week. I played at a pretty high level of competitiveness for Call of Duty. I would play for money at times, but I kind of stopped doing that because I did have my addiction personality. I played poker every day for 3 years in college. I was playing Bovado, which is an online poker platform in class. That's not healthy, is it? So I had a lot of addictive personalities. I smoked cigarettes for like 8 years. I struggle with a lot of things in my life. That's just my personality, and I have accepted that. And the things I'm working on now, it's not always easy for my addictive personality disorder stuff. But I do what's necessary to become healthy. And if I backslide, I show myself some self-compassion. I'm really good with letting that anxiety just be there and stuff like that. So I kind of had a relapse on something recently again. I fell back, which I've done a lot. And, my anxiety just cranked up a little bit, but it doesn't bother me anymore. It can be there as much as it wants. It's the zero effect on my life to operate. So, about 9 to 10 months, I developed what I thought was GAD. It doesn't matter if it is GAD or not, generalized anxiety disorder, which is used incorrectly in terminology almost all the time. GAD is when you have chronic anxiety pumping 24 hours a day in the background, waxing and waning in the level, but it's always there. So it might arbitrarily feel like a 5 during the morning and then spike to a 9 for an hour, come back to a 5, but it's always around a 5 or a 6 all day, 24/7. And that comes down to fear of the physical sensation of the anxiety, fear of it not going away and stuff like that. Kind of very similar to somatic OCD recovery, fear of the sensation, getting under with it, unconditional life acceptance, unconditional self-acceptance and stuff like that. So that brought me to about the 1 year recovery video where I was like, I'm totally good. I've been working on OCD recovery for a year, had a huge relapse after like 4 months, freaked out again, then realized, okay, I'm jumping the gun. Rob said to me, you're doing great. You've made great progress, but you're definitely jumping the gun because of my personality. I have to work on balance a little bit more than other people, not acting so much in the moment. As we know, drastic, quick decisions are never good for OCD people. They're not good for other people as well. And we're not talking about like you're caught in a forest fire. We're talking about I need to break up my partner right now. I have to change my diet plan right now. I have to change my exercise plan right now. I have to stop drinking 3 cups of coffee a day and go to no coffee for 1 year. It's just that black and white switch that people love to do because it's very easy to get caught in that instant gratification cycle, which for OCD recovery tends to be absolutely problematic and keeps us stuck in the hamster wheel. So I developed really bad chronic anxiety for about 7 months. I still have it to a degree, but nothing like I did for 6 months. I remember freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing will not let up. And then Rob's like, well, because you're afraid of it. Like you're afraid of that sensation being there. What's the worst that happens? So like I had undiagnosed body dysmorphic disorder more than likely for 15 years. It's something I kind of just realized. The fitness industry didn't do me any good. I was so obsessed with the way I look, so obsessed about my health, so not health OCD, but just like counting my macros. I counted macros on paper. Like I literally counted my macros. And macros are macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. If you're in the fitness, you know what I'm talking about. I counted my macros for 10 years. 10 years! I used it as a safety compulsion to feel the illusion of safety, which I did a video on yesterday, which led me absolutely nowhere. So I don't count macros anymore. So let's talk about where I am right now. 18 months. 111 days into recovery of my one addiction that I've had for a very long time. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm very proud of myself with that. Longest I've gone in my whole entire life. My balance is really good. I have 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day. And sometimes if I have 3, I can bring it right back. It's not that big of a deal. I don't make drastic changes in the moment anymore, which is just unbelievable for me because I'm such an A-type personality but A-type personality guy. I'm just like, boom, 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 like make decisions now. September 28th. So in 9 days, my wife and I, our business will be open for 1 year. We have a corporation. We're very happy about that, PC. Let's see what else. I hike between 10 to 15 miles a week, probably more than that with my dogs. I probably do 1 to 2 miles, sometimes 3 miles a day with my dogs. And then we do, 10-mile hikes on Sundays. Live in the mountains, Colorado, so doing a lot of cool hiking like that. There's 58 14ers here. I've only done 1 of them. One of my buddies has 56 of them done, 14,000-foot mountains. They're wild. They're so crazy when you do them. The views are amazing. I've gotten better with my exercise. The balance of changing things with my exercise is still something I have to make progress on. I no longer feel the need to journal. I don't feel the need to read. I don't feel the need to do these things. That's been like that for quite some time. I do journal at wherever my journal is. I think it's out there. I do journal. I do write things down. Maybe I'll meditate 1 or 2 times a week. I don't do it for the purposes of anything with recovery. I just do it because I enjoy it. It's nice to, after a long day of work, running a business, all sorts of crazy things happen. And, it works for me. But I don't use any of these things to escape the way I'm feeling in the moment. That's why I didn't meditate for a while. That's why I didn't journal for a while. Rob has been like, you don't need to journal. You know what to do. You just have to wait, time and patience. And that was a huge thing for me. We got Milo, my second dog, over a year ago. That was great. But yeah, like things are just really, they're good in this point in my life. I'm not recovered, and I don't even like saying, like fully recovered anymore. I'm sure I'll reach that at some point in my life, or reach some area where nothing affects me whatsoever. And I'll be very fortunate when I get to that point or don't get to that point, but I'm very happy with the progress I've made right now. Remember, OCD recovery is not a subjective meaning it's not different for everyone. It has one objective meaning. It has one objective meaning. Like a rock has an objective meaning. This is a rock. This is not a rock. This is a cup. We have objective meanings for a reason. The objective meaning of OCD recovery is the absence of chronic anxiety, the absence of chronic guilt, shame, intrusive thoughts lose their intrusiveness, and you're basically like someone who doesn't have OCD. This doesn't mean you can't keep up with OCD recovery, because it is important to keep up with OCD recovery. It's like maintaining my addictions and maintaining someone who's an alcoholic. One of my best friends have been sober from drugs, opioids, heroin, alcohol for 10 years. I love talking to him. He has great perspectives on life, especially being in the gutter, the big gutter. He weighed like 112 pounds at like 5'11". It was crazy. But yeah, so things are good in my life right now. I still have work to do, but it's a slow process. Just remember, time and patience is on your side. Even if it takes you 5 years to recover and you're 17 years old, you'll be 22. You will have your perspective on life at 22 will be vastly different than people who have lived 95 years at the surface level. That isn't to say you're better than that person. It just gives you the opportunity to be somewhere that other people haven't done. Things are going well. Thank you so much for always supporting my videos. It means a lot to me. If you have any other questions about my life or things I like, I do have a bunch of tattoos. You don't really see any of these ones. I got a diamond here, some roses here. I have a lot of tattoos. My wife said once we finally get into our house, because with a business, you have to have 2 years of tax income before you can actually get a mortgage in this country where I live. She said, I asked her, can I tattoo my hands or my neck? I would do both if I could. I had got to pick one. I got to tattoo my hands. So I'll have tattoos on my hands sometime in the future. I'm very excited about that. And that's it. So things are going well. OCD recovery is possible. Progress is possible. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Keep pushing forward, keep reading, keep moving with uncertainty, doing your exposures, talking to different people in the community. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.